What up, YouTube? Here with a review video for AEW Full Gear 2022. Now, this is how review videos get done on this channel. I will give every matchup that happened on the card a rating out of a 5, and at the end of the video, I will give the overall pay-per-view a rating out of a 10. So now, let's get to the reviewing part. For AEW Full Gear 2022, the opening contest, we saw Jungle Boy go over versus Luchasaurus in a steel cage match. A good, exciting opening contest, and there was some few cool spots in the match, and I thought AEW made the right move having Jungle Boy go over and win. And yeah, and this should catapult and push Jungle Boy to the next level as a singles competitor. He's well liked by the crowd, and he could definitely go in the ring. And as far as Luchasaurus goes, I don't think his push is going to get derailed. He can go in the ring as well. And to have Christian Cage as his mouthpiece, they could still do their thing. And I heard that Luchasaurus was injured prior to this match, and for him to pull off the match that he did versus Jungle Boy yesterday at Full Gear in a steel cage match is definitely impressive. And I think this should end the rivalry between Jungle Boy, Christian Cage, and Luchasaurus, because I think, Jungle Boy could be going after a singles title like the All Atlantic title, or one of the ROH singles titles like the ROH Pure title, and championships like that. And Luchasaurus can go for the TNT or ROH TV titles and whatnot if he's not going to be out of action, because I haven't heard any updates about his injury. And yeah, and it must have been a feel-good moment for Jungle Boy, because ever since the rivalry started with him, Christian Cage, and Luchasaurus, he hasn't won. I mean, at All Out, Christian Cage squashed him. Christian Cage couldn't really wrestle that match at All Out because he got injured prior to All Out, and that's when we saw Luchasaurus turn heel on Jungle Boy and align himself with Christian Cage. And when AEW made their debut in Canada a month ago, we saw Luchasaurus wrestle Jungle Boy one-on-one in a non-gimmick match where Luchasaurus won and went over, and now we saw Jungle Boy win at Full Gear yesterday. So I don't know if they're gonna continue that feud. I don't think they should, though. Anyways, though, moving on, the second matchup on the card was the AEW Trios match, a Trios titles match. We saw the returning Elite Challenge, Death Triangle. This was a good match as well. I'll give this matchup a 3.5 out of a 5. Death Triangle won and retained their AEW Trios titles. Ray Phoenix got the pin over Kenny Omega when he hit Kenny Omega over the head with a hammer. And that, if y'all been watching AEW's product as of late, we saw Pac use the hammer to win a lot of his matches, and the angle that AEW's been pushing with Death Triangle, Pac's been encouraging his partners, Ray Phoenix and Penta Oscuro, to use the hammer to win matches. And Ray Phoenix and Penta has been refusing to, listen to Pac up until All Out. And when you have the Elite and Death Triangle wrestle in a match, you're expected to have a good, outstanding wrestling match, and we didn't see anything less than that. And I heard that, or I saw that AEW is gonna be having a best out of a 7 series match with Death Triangle and the Elite, and that should be a fun series of wrestling matches. In the next match, we saw Jade Cargill versus Nyla Rose for the TBS title. Jade Cargill won that match. I'll give this match 2 out of a 5, and I'm being nice when I give this match a 2 out of a 5, because this match was it was mediocre, and that's no knock to both Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill. It was a regular, typical TBS title match. Jade Cargill, I think, her run is definitely impressive. She's still undefeated. She's still being presented as the dominant mid-card champion in the women's division in AEW. And yeah, I'll give this matchup a 2 out of a 5. And then the next match we saw the ROH title match in a 4-way. Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho versus Claudio Castanoli versus Sammy Guevara. Now this was a good match, and what you expect out of 4-way matches is fast-paced back and forth action, and that's what we got. And Chris Jericho won the match, and he retained his ROH World title. There was an angle where him and Sammy Guevara had a argument and a disagreement with what do you call it? With who's gonna win the ROH title, and that was expected, right? Because it's a 4-way match. I don't know if AEW is gonna make anything out of it, but yeah, I give this matchup a rating of a 3 out of a 5. And then we saw Sting and Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Now this was a good match. Had some few cool spots in it as well. I give this matchup a 3 out of a 5. The finish was the best part in this match. We saw, I didn't know Sting and Darby Allin had a double team finisher where Darby Allin does the coffin drop while Sting has his opponent in a reverse DDT, and they hit it at the same time. And yeah, that was the finish of the match. And yeah, there was some interferences. I think this was a no DQ match with Sting, Darby Allin, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett. And yeah, I give this matchup a 3 out of a 5. And we saw Saraya make her AEW debut, her long-awaited return to the ring versus Dr. Britt Baker. Now this was a good pace matchup, good back and forth. Saraya went over. She won after hitting her finisher. And Saraya looked like she ain't missed a step yet. She's been wrestling ever since she was a kid, and wrestling is her second nature. So it looks like she hasn't missed a beat yet, and she's definitely looking like she can go. And it was good to see her in the ring again, and I don't know if she's going to be wrestling full time, but she's definitely back in action, back in wrestling, and I give this matchup a 2.5 out of a 5. And then we saw Toni Storm defend her AEW interim women's title versus Jaime Hayter. Jaime Hayter won the match. Now she's the new AEW interim women's champion. Jaime Hayter, she's been on the come up as of late, and she's well over with the crowd right now, and she won after Toni Storm hit her head onto the exposed turnbuckle, and then Jaime Hayter hit her finisher. And there was also interferences in the match. Rebel provided distraction, and Britt Baker hit the curb stomp on Toni Storm. That still wasn't enough for Jaime Hayter to pick up the win. And the match continued, and yeah, I give this matchup a 3.5 out of a 5. It was a good match, and as far as the booking goes, I thought it was a little too early to take the title from Toni Storm at her first defense as a champion on a pay-per-view, because Toni Storm can definitely wrestle, and she's a good talent, and for her to win at All Out and to lose at Full Gear like a month or two later is, I don't know. I thought that's bad booking on AEW's part, but we'll see how Jaime Hayter is as a champion, because she's got some momentum in her favor right now. And then we saw the TNT title match, a 3-way match with Wardlow, Samoa Joe, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Now this was a decent match, good back and forth action. Samoa Joe won. Now he's both the ROH television and TNT champion. He won after Wardlow hit a power bomb on Powerhouse Hobbs, and he hit Wardlow from behind with the title belt, and then he choked out Powerhouse Hobbs to secure the win. And yeah, this match I give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. it's obvious. I think it's going to be Samoa Joe versus Wardlow, probably for both the ROH television and TNT titles. The next match, we saw the AEW Tag Team title match with Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed won the match, and they've been teasing a split with Swerve in Our Glory for a long time, and ever since Swerve in Our Glory formed, they've been teasing a breakup because the chemistry's been off between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, and it came to Swerve in Our Glory came to a end at Full Gear because Keith Lee walked out on Swerve Strickland when Swerve Strickland had the wrench in his hand, and he tried to pass it off to Keith Lee, and Keith Lee didn't want to use the wrench to win the tag team titles back. And when Keith Lee refused, Swerve Strickland, obviously frustrated that Keith Lee won't go to cheat to secure a win, so he slapped Keith Lee right in the face, and Keith Lee wasn't having none of that. And he walked out on Swerve Strickland, and then that provided enough time for Acclaim to get in there and hit their finisher and get the win and retain their AEW Tag Team titles. And when Swerve in Our Glory and Acclaim wrestle, they always put on a good match, and we saw that at All Out, we saw that at Grand Slam, and the same thing at Full Gear. I give this matchup a 3.5 out of a 5. And in the main event, we saw Jon Moxley versus MJF for the AEW World title. I give this matchup a 3.5 out of a 5 as well. As far as the match itself, I would have gave it like a 3 out of a 5. It was a regular pace back and forth match between MJF and Jon Moxley. And the finish though is what added the little bit of that more of a higher rating to this match, because I didn't expect it. Unlike Swerve in Our Glory's breakup, I didn't expect William Regal to turn on Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley, when the referee was out, Jon Moxley had MJF in a bulldog choke, and MJF was tapping out. But William Regal was like, "Hey, the referee didn't see that, so the match ain't over." And then while Jon Moxley had his back turned and was trying to get back up on his feet, William Regal slid MJF his brass knucks, and MJF punched him with the brass knucks, and Jon Moxley went out, and that's how MJF picked up the win and now is the new AEW World Champion. Now, I did not know if MJF would have continue being a babyface, because after the Firm attacked both Jon Moxley and MJF's been taking on the role of a babyface leading up to this match, and I was actually quite looking forward to seeing MJF as a babyface, but now I'm looking forward to seeing how MJF and William Regal work together, and how Jon Moxley is going to react to losing his AEW World title because of his longtime trainer William Regal, and how is BCC gonna play out in the future with William Regal now aligning himself with MJF. I expected and I thought that MJF would have won the match, because this was in Newark, New Jersey, and MJF is from right around the corner from there, so it would have been a big moment for AEW to have MJF go over and win this match and become the AEW World Champion in front of his near hometown crowd, and as a babyface, so he would have got more of a pop. But I think this was the right move. MJF being the world champion, I say he's the best thing going for AEW, and I can't wait to see what he does as the champion. And the overall rating for this pay-per-view, I'll give it I'll give it a 7 out of a 10. And yeah, what's y'all opinion on this year's Full Gear? Y'all let me know in the comments. Comment, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. And yeah, that does it for this review video for this year's Full Gear. I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.